It goes without saying, Hannibal Lecter has made an impact on pop culture. Books, movies, and even a television show have featured the cannibalistic criminal. The question is, where did author Thomas Harris get the inspiration for such a brutal killer? Albert Fish, aka the Moon Maniac, the Unidentified Monster of Florence, Mississippi murderer James Coyner, and the Kobe cannibal Issei Sagawa have been cited as potential influences, with Harris himself saying that Lecter was a composite of sorts. However, Harris did point to one candidate who stands out above the rest. During his journalistic career, Thomas Harris encountered a Dr. Salazar, and thus the origins of Hannibal Lecter were formed. For the StudioJake After Dark comeback, we will be exploring the inspiration behind Thomas Harris's most notable character. Viewer discretion is advised, and once again, sit back, relax, and welcome to StudioJake After Dark. Imagine this. A young journalist steps into the dim corridors of a notorious Mexican prison, although some say it was a mental health institution. He's there to chase a story about a disfigured American killer. But instead, he stumbles upon something far more sinister. A man who chats about torment like it's cocktail conversation. A surgeon who carves up his victims with the precision of a gourmet chef. This isn't fiction. This is 1963, and this encounter would birth one of literature's most chilling villains, Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Today, we peel back the layers of Thomas Harris's masterpiece to reveal the real monster who inspired it, a Mexican doctor known as Alfredo Trevino. Thomas Harris wasn't always the recluse genius behind Red Dragon and the Silence of the Lambs. In his early 20s, he was a wide-eyed reporter for Argosy magazine, hustling for scoops in the underbelly of the world. That changed at a penitentiary in Monterrey, Mexico, a fortress of stone and secrets where the worst of humanity rotted away. Harris had come to interview Dykes Askew Simmons, an American murderer whose botched escape had left him scarred and bedridden. Denied access to Simmons, the warden offered an alternative, a chat with the prison's unofficial doctor, Dr. Salazar, they called him. He was a small, little man with dark red hair, impeccable manners, and a gaze that could dissect your very soul. Harris sat down, notebook in hand. What followed was no ordinary interview. Salazar spoke. "Tell me, Mr. Harris, were the murdered people attractive?" Harris replied, "Yes, I suppose they were." Salazar answered, "Certainly not, but early torment makes torment easily imagined. You are a journalist, Mr. Harris. How would you put that in your journal? How do you treat the fear of torment in journalese? Might you say something snappy about torment, like it puts the hell in hello?" That wasn't small talk. It was a window into the abyss. Alfredo wasn't probing for gossip. He was dissecting the psychology of pain, violence, and desire with the casual wit of a dinner guest. Harris left the room intrigued, even charmed. Only later, as he thanked the warden, did the truth drop like a scalpel's edge. The warden said, "Hombre, don't you know who that is? The doctor is a murderer. As a surgeon, he could package his victims in a surprisingly small box. He will never leave this place. He is insane." Alfredo wasn't born a monster, or was he? Born in 1931 to a wealthy family in Mendez, Tamaulipas, he was the golden child, pushed by the tyrannical father to excel in medicine. At least that's what some biographies report. By 1959, as a medical intern in Monterrey, he'd carved out a double life. He was a healer by day and a closeted homosexual by night. Homosexuality was a death sentence in mid-century Mexico. It was deemed taboo, persecuted, and even punishable. Now, who was his victim, at least the one he was prosecuted for? None other than Jesus Castelo Rangel, his boyfriend and perhaps part of a tangled romantic triangle with another man. Now, what was the spark that led to Alfredo killing Jesus? Some say a lover's quarrel, some say it was money woes, but many suggest it was Alfredo's insistence on a sham marriage to a woman to mask his urges. In a fit of rage, Alfredo slit Jesus' throat with surgical precision, then dismembered the body. Piece by meticulous piece, He fitted the remains into a wooden box small enough to bury on a remote ranch. It was efficient, elegant even, but the grave was shallow and it was soon discovered. Arrested and tried, Alfredo earned a death sentence in 1961, the last man in Nueve Leon to face execution for a crime of passion. Rumors swirled of more victims. There was a slew of hitchhikers who vanished, but later their bodies were found hacked and partially hidden. The press immediately blamed Alfredo and dubbed him the Werewolf of Nuevo Leon, a nod to his predatory grace, his ability to blend savagery with sophistication. However, he was never concretely connected to the hitchhiker murders and never faced prosecution for them. His sentence was eventually commuted and he only served 20 years. But inside, the werewolf didn't howl, he waited. He was treating inmates and locals alike from his cell-side clinic, always in light suits and shades, Rolex ticking like a time bomb while he operated on his patients. Released in the 1980s, he returned to Monterey, quietly doctoring the poor for free until prostate cancer claimed him in 2009. In his final interview, he waved off his past, saying, "I don't want to wake up my ghosts." But the ghosts had already escaped straight into the notebook of Thomas Harris. Nearly 2 decades later, in 1981, Hannibal Lecter slithered onto the page in Red Dragon, a brilliant psychiatrist turned cannibal, caged but untamed. Harris kept the secret locked away until 2013 when he penned the preface to The Silence of the Lambs 25th Anniversary Edition. And even there, he referred to Alfredo as Dr. Salazar. That's where we get that moniker. He said, "My detective needed to talk to somebody with a peculiar understanding of the criminal mind." He would add, "Lost in the tunnel of the work, I plodded along. Who do you suppose was waiting in the cell? It was not Dr. Salazar, but because of Dr. Salazar, I could recognize his colleague and fellow practitioner, Hannibal Lecter." Lecter wasn't a carbon copy. As mentioned earlier, Harris wove in threads from Albert Fish's intelligence, Ed Kemper's intellect, and the cannibalistic tendencies of Issei Sagawa. Not to mention, he even went to Italy to witness the trial of a man accused of being the monster of Florence. But Alfredo's shadow looms largest. Both are doctors of death, surgeons who turn bodies into art, or in Hannibal's case, a mind doctor who turns minds into art. Alfred's surprisingly small box foreshadows Lecter's liver with fava beans dinner, served with a wink and a Chianti slurp. Both exude predatory elegance, Bali in his prison, finery, Lecter in his tailored suits behind bars. Their conversations? Intellectual cat-and-mouse games. Alfredo's quip about torments, hell, and hello mirrors Lecter's tauntings to Clarice Starling, probing fears, twisting knives with words before steel. And that stillness, which Harris noted in Alfredo, it's the chilling poise Anthony Hopkins channeled, the pause before the bite. Even in captivity, they command respect. Alfredo practiced medicine from his cell. Lecter counseled from his. Monsters who heal, healers who devour. Harris's genius wasn't just in the gore, it was in the humanizing of the horror. Alfredo wasn't a slobbering beast. He was a man of contradictions, of intellect, and of a hidden darkness. And let's be clear, Lecter too is no mere villain. He is a symphony of psyche, a dark mirror to our own buried torments. And the irony, Alfredo lived to see his legacy. Online reports have circulated that his loved ones say he shrugged off Harris's early novels, but when The Silence of the Lambs hit screens in 1991, he would hear people shout, "Hannibal! Dr. Lecter!" But he thought it was funny, a final wry twist from the grave that he once dug. Alfredo Bale Trevino died quietly, his ghost at rest. But in Harris's hands, he became eternal, a specter who reminds us that the scariest monsters wear our faces. Refined, insightful, and always just one probing question away from the truth. Next time you hear those fava beans being fried, remember, it started in a Mexican prison cell with a doctor who boxed his demons, and with an author who set one free. Thank you so much for watching the return of Studio Jake After Dark. If you liked this video, be sure to like it, subscribe, leave me a comment to what you think, and of course, head on over to my website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. I look forward to doing more of this, at least on a monthly basis. So I hope that you watch, that you enjoy, and maybe, hopefully, you've learned something from the darkness. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Studio Jake After Dark.